Hey everybody, this is Jim, the Lake Effect Gardener, and today we've got a couple things on deck. First and foremost, hashtag Transatlantic Melon Challenge. Jane and I are going to be sowing our seeds, and then after we're done with that, we're going to take a little bit of a March tour. So there's a lot packed into one small video, so stay tuned, grab a cup of tea, and enjoy what you see. So I'm going to go ahead and get these melons finally sown. Just as a quick reminder to you guys, the two varieties that we are growing are the Minnesota Midget, Cantaloupe, okay, and the Sugar Baby watermelon. Okay, now I'm going to be sowing these in two different ways. Okay, the first is going to be the conventional into compost. I'm going to do smaller pots for these. Actually, you know what, I might do a little bit on the larger size. I know these are 4.5 inch pots. Okay, so I'm going to be sowing them in those. I'm also going to be doing, just as a trial, I'm going to chit the seeds first. Now, chitting means that you're going to give them a chance to sprout before you actually sow them, much like you would your potatoes. Okay, so simply enough, all you need to do is get yourself a Ziploc bag and you put yourself in there a nice wet paper towel. Okay, this isn't soaking wet. We don't want it to be soaking wet. I basically I soaked them, but then I squeezed them out. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the seeds in here that for each variety. As you can see, I've got them already labeled. Okay, I'm going to put the seeds in there. Okay, and with the moisture that's in there, and I'm going to, zip these up, we'll create enough moisture and humidity to actually sprout the seeds before I put them in the compost. Okay, so these are the two ways I'm going to be doing them. So let's get at it. If you see, I've got everything here. Oops, I've got multi-purpose compost. I've got all my pots that I want, more than enough. I've got my labels and I've got my marker. I'm going to go ahead first. We're going to do it into the pots first. I've got an old, let's see, what was this? Color Blitz Pinkceptional Petunia. Okay, not anymore. This is going to be the Minnesota Midget. All right, and then what's this one? This one was Autumn Fire Stonecrop Sedum. Oh, it also was a gourd at one point. I'm going to cross that out. This is going to be Sugar Baby. We agreed that we're going to probably do about 4 of each variety. My thought with that is that I'm going to be planting 2 in my polytunnel and 2 outdoors. So it's going to be a trial in that manner, see which one will grow better. So simply enough, fill your pot, and I pre-soaked this in water, so it's got a little dampness. Okay. I'm just going to do 1 of each, just to show you how it's done. Okay, so first we're going to do the Minnesota Midget. So I'm going to take 1 seed. Well, maybe I'll do 2. And I'm going to direct sow that into the compost. Okay. The directions on there, direct sow after frost date. It doesn't really tell you how deep, but melons, much like squash, you can put them down a good 1/2 inch. Okay, so those are that. I'm now going to take my Minnesota Midget and I'm going to do, oops, not that many. And I'm going to put them inside the little chit bag. I'm going to space them out so that I can see them. Also getting the paper towel nice and dirty. Okay. So, press it down so that it makes contact, okay? And then I'm going to push the air out and seal it up. Okay. So I've got 1, 2, 3. All right, now I'm going to do the same with the Sugar Baby watermelon. I'm going to take a couple of seeds. Seeds are really small, okay? Direct sow them. Cover them up. And then I'm going to take a couple and put them inside the chit bag. They're sticking to my fingers here. 2, 3, 4. Okay, pressing them down, making sure that they, there we go. Press them down, make sure that they make contact. Seal it up. All right. Now, some things that you have to consider when growing melons. First of all, they love heat. They love heat. So I'm going to be taking these and I'm going to be putting them indoors inside my little area that I was growing the peppers and the eggplant until they sprout. And they're probably going to hang out there for a while, okay? They don't like cold at all. So once they are really nicely established, then I'll move them into my heated greenhouse. We still have a couple of cold nights, I'm not gonna lie, it's gonna happen, okay? This is Fool's Spring here in Buffalo. We will most likely get some more cold weather. I'm not willing to sacrifice these by just putting them in there. Even though the greenhouse is heated, it still can get really, really cold. I don't want to do anything to disturb that. So these will go in indoors, both of them. Other things to consider is their growing conditions once they finally go into their final resting spots, okay? Now, I'm going to be planting mine in 2 different locations. The first is I'm going to do a couple plants outside. I've got raised beds, so that'll be good. I'm also going to be putting them in these, these will be going into the Polytunnel, okay? These are self-watering bins, okay? My dad gave to me. And the water goes in here to this big reservoir, and then this is really good compost. You want to make sure that your compost is really, really nutritious, okay? They are greedy guts, okay? The other thing you want to consider too is these melons, although they like water because they need water to produce that juice, they also like really well-drained soil. Like I said, my raised beds are perfect for that. If you're directly or if you're going to put these into your ground, if you're going right into the ground without a raised bed situation, my suggestion is to maybe, I don't know, grits. Put some grit, mix some grit into it, okay? That's really, really important too. They do not like wet feet, but they love water. Temperamental little things. So, like I said, I don't have that problem in the garden. Everything's really, really well draining in there. However, for that, I might mix some grit in. Also, you could also use sand, some builder sand. That works really, really well too. You just want to make sure that that moisture does not sit in the roots at all. I might just go to Lake Erie on one of my many trips to the beach, grab myself a bucket of sand and mix it in with my compost. So, yeah, really, really important. Do not transplant these out into your garden until you are sure you are done with the frosts. They are not going to like it. The last thing you want to do after coddling these little babies for as long as you have been, to throw them out there too early and then one cold snap and they're done. Okay? So, they love heat, they love drainage, they love water. When it comes to fertilizing them, you don't want to go crazy. Maybe once every month, give them a nice feed. You can use a very light, very water. What am I trying to say here? If you make like your own nettle feed or your own comfrey feed, stuff like that, tea, don't give them too much, okay? These plants will tell you if they're happy or not. The leaves will be really, dark green, really robust. If they start turning yellow, they're not getting enough. If they start getting really crispy, they've gotten too much, okay? So the leaves will tell you, pay attention to those leaves. And of course, needless to say, these are sun-loving plants. So make sure that when you're putting them directly into your garden or polytunnel, that it is in full sun. They need 6 to 8 hours of sunlight, okay? Anything less than that and they won't perform as well. You might get some lovely vines, but they're not going to be willing under shady conditions to throw out flowers and henceforth fruit. So full sun, full hot, wonderful sun. One last thing. As you can see, I'm making several clips because I keep remembering things. They don't like to have their foliage wet. Okay, so if you're going to water them below the foliage, water them right there at the base of the plant where the roots are. Do not get the leaves wet. It's a similar situation with squash. If you live in a very humid area like Buffalo, even though our summers are short, because we are so close to the lake that it gets pretty humid here during the summer. So think of it as almost like a squash vine. The less exposure to water, the better. You can unfortunately get mildew with these if they're not in the right, if there's too much moisture on the leaves. So try to keep those leaves nice and dry. Not easy to do. I know. Oh my gosh, why are these so high maintenance? It'll so be worth it, I hope. March tour time. I've been busy clearing out all of these beds, and we've had such a nice stretch of weather that I've literally been nonstop, and it's been lovely. A lot of my herbs are on their way up. So we've got catnip, lemon balm, and then the comfrey is coming back, and all sorts of fun stuff. Over here we've got some motherwort. So things are ready. Things are about ready. And I do have over here in the mint bed some daffs that are beginning to poke up. I love it. Sure sign of spring right there. All right, not much has gone on in the way of the big beds. I haven't done anything. I haven't turned them over or done anything yet. I've been focusing a lot on infrastructure as of late. This obelisk has really seen better days. It's beginning to, it's really, really dry, and it's really rotted, and I really feel at this point, as you can see, the vines from last year are still on. I haven't taken them down yet, but I really feel like these are the things, the vines are what's holding this poor thing together. So the upcycle project that I was talking about has to do with this obelisk. Okay, I'm going to be making a new one, but I'm not going to reveal anything more than that. I will be moving it too, because this area through here, which is enough for a human body to make past, but not enough for my lawnmower. So I'm actually going to be moving this obelisk over here. Oh no, what happened to the raised bed that was here? Well, I took it down. Most everything inside of it was dead, and if it weren't dead, it was on its way to dying, so I got rid of this. Also, I couldn't get the mower passed through here and stuff like that. So the obelisk is actually going to go here, and it's going to go a little bit closer to the bed. So it'll still be a focal point. I have something else that I'm going to put here that's smaller. Okay, so there will be a focal point as you're you know, leaving the garage or coming into the garden this way. So there's gonna be one here, and then the obelisk is gonna go over here. I took all the compost that was in here, and I have this bed over here that I built. And actually, these are a couple of the plants that I saved from that raised bed. Now, they're looking pretty worse for wear, but I did see a little green on them. So I just threw them in there and, you know, topped them off with some well-rotted cow manure. Hopefully those will take off and come back. And then in here, I want to plant some like calendula and maybe a couple other flowers. Who knows what I'll put in there, honestly. Moving right along, this is the future tomato bed. This was the eggplant, onion, etc. bed. And there's some remnants of the collards that I grew last year, and they're still there. I'm really surprised that the rabbits haven't taken care of them. Over here, this is going to be hot peppers, and this is filled with brambles, and I mean, you can see, I hesitate to touch it because it's filled with thorns, but this is a bramble. It has to come out. I've never used this bed. It's kind of grown fallow in its own way, so all of that's going to come out. I'm going to put fresh compost in it, and this is where my hot peppers are going to be. This is going to get baked by the sunlight, so it's a great place. Over here is a little bit more shaded due to this willow tree that, can I just say, this willow tree right here, I didn't plant. It just kind of appeared there. And it's a pussy willow tree. And there, my friends, we've got the little catkins starting to come out. I mean, for a self-propagating tree I had nothing to do with, it is quite lovely. I'm pleased with it. But anyways, this bed is going to be all of the lettuce and greens and stuff like this. This tree gives it a good deal of shade, so I had the corn here last time. I have so much cleaning out to do. Coming over here, we have, this was the tomato bed. This will be, what did I say this was going to be? Cabbage. This is going to be my brassica bed. Okay, so cabbage and Swiss chard. I'm going to grow some beets in here, there's some carrots in here. Yeah, it's going to be nice. Over here is my cucumber bed. This is going to now be cucumbers growing over. So remember, I'm going to be building a trellis. It's going to go over the path using cattle panel. And then it's going to be eggplant or aubergine. And there's going to be sweet peppers in here, and peas are going to be at the end. I got to get this taken care of soon because the peas have to go in. Well, I have to sow them yet, so no rush, I guess. This was the brassica bed, and now this is going to be a kind of a Three Sisters-ish bed. Okay. You can see I've got all these stakes here with string, and I haven't really, I'm trying to map out what's going to be happening. The idea was to have the beans in the front and then squash throughout. I was originally going to have the sweet corn right here, but then the pumpkin beds here, I didn't want them to shade out the pumpkins. So I think the sweet corn is going to go here. That way it's still going to get a decent amount of sunlight coming down. Over here, I think I'm going to be moving the Table King acorn squash and the red curry, or the uchiki curry winter squash, is going to go in this area. And I have them broken up into, let's see, 2, 4, 6. So I'll be doing 3 Table King, 3 uchiki curry. And then in the middle here is going to be my blue and golden, or is it red? Hubbard squash. So the idea is that I'll plant them over here, I'll do a couple of rows, and then they're going to trail this way. And they'll go right into the sweet corn. Okay, so there's that kind of a Three Sisters idea. And then, because I've had to rethink this, the amount of sunflowers I'm going to grow is going to shrink substantially. So this little area here will be sunflowers. No, it's not much, but again, I didn't want it to shade out any of the things that are growing behind it. So in front of it, I've got 2 sections here, and I might make them a little bit wider, but I still have to do the spaghetti squash, and I still have to do the, what's the other one? Butternut squash. And originally what I was going to do was plant the spaghetti squash here and let it trail, and then I was going to build another bed over here and then do the butternut and have it travel this way. But I needed my lumber and my compost for something different, so I decided that instead I'm going to do a la Vivi Gregory, the lovely of Vivi's Kitchen Garden. I'm gonna make some wigwams, some teepees over here, and I'm going to grow my butternut squash and my spaghetti squash up vertically. So yeah, that'll be great. It'll be quite the focal point, and I will be using, much like Vivi does, I'm going to be using old branches and whatnot, and I've got a lot of them. There's no doubt about that. So this is going to be climbing squash. Lovely. Okay. My apple tree over here is starting to get nice and plump, and these little side shoots here will most likely have some lovely flowers. This is a Cortland apple, and then over here is my beloved Honeycrisp. And this isn't swelling as much, but this is later to come on. But there's, again, a lot of little side shoots here that I'm hopeful will be just chock filled with blossom. All right. So I've been really busy, guys. There's no doubt about that. I've been very, very, very busy with this section of the garden. So this was the compost pile. It finally thawed out, and I created, instead of doing one big bed, I created two smaller beds, and I used the compost that I had that wasn't root bound, and filled up these smaller wooden beds. Well, wooden, they're made out of logs. As you can see, I've got my cardboard. So this is very much like I had mentioned, Charles Dowding's, initial no-dig raised bed. And however, these will be, well, I'll explain in a second. So I've got the second one over here. I wanted this path here. The compost pile really cut this area off of the garden to the rest of it, and it was difficult to maneuver, etc., etc. So anyways, the plan for these beds, well, as you can see, I already have one thing there and another one here. These are new apple trees. Yes, I'm expanding my apple repertoire. I'm very happy about that. And I think these apples are going to absolutely love the compost that they have officially been put to bed in. This one is a Golden Delicious. And then over here, this one is a Matsu, which is just another fancy way of saying Crispin. And to tell you the truth, Crispins and Cortlands are my favorite pie apples. They're just really, really good for pie. So these have found their final resting spot. Yes, it's under a tree, but this whole area here gets a ton of sunlight. So I'm not really concerned about that. Now they might have to embattle the roots a little bit, but I find that trees are a little bit more resilient in that fashion. Around the base, okay, I haven't gotten them yet, but they are ordered and I'm getting them very soon, are going to be strawberries. Yes, I ordered two varieties, and the first one is Honeyoy, okay, and the other one is, what was the other one? Sparkle. So those are both June-bearing berries, and they're delicious. They're delicious. My dad grew Sparkle for a long time, and I think my grandfather did before him, and they're just really, really good eating. They're really good for jams, things like that. So I'm really excited about that. So here's the Polytunnel, and the raised bed that I had, the circular one that I built with the pavers, one of the reasons why I took it down is because I wanted the pavers. So I originally put a ramp here, but it was kind of flimsy. It was bending as I was walking on it. So instead, I had these pavers. I thought that they would look much better, more permanent solution. And I also had some of this stone. left over from when I did my back walk. So I think this looks really, really nice. It's nice to have some hardscape that's not tree limbs. But these are 2 raised beds that I'm going to plant flowers in because I want to encourage the pollinators to come into my tunnel. I've already planted, and I can't really see, but I've already planted on either side of the trellis clematis or clematis. Same variety, 2 different plants, and I believe it's a Jackmanii. I don't know, I'm abysmal with the Latin terminology. It's pretty and purple. So the idea is that it's going to grow up, 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 and maybe even over. I said I wanted to do something to make this polytunnel look really, really nice, so that's the idea. All right, last part, here we are, new stuff. So I created this bed and this bed. Now, if you remember from my garden plan video, I said that I was going to have green beans going all the way across, and I was going to build that bed. Okay, that was going to have the butternut squash. Well, the back of that was going to have beans, so I was going to have a big, huge wall of beans. Since I didn't build this one, I still needed to have the necessary real estate for the 3 varieties that I'm growing. And so I'm going to be doing probably my Blue Lake that I grow every single year. And then I have Kentucky Wonder that's going to go in here. And then over here is going to be the Gigantes. Okay, now these are wide enough that I can do companion planting. I can put some flowers in with them if I need to. But also this bed here is going to have the Howden Field pumpkin and the Roof Vif de Tempe. The P's probably silent, isn't it? Anyways, the Cinderella pumpkin. So there's going to be plenty of room to get these established, and they're going to run throughout this. I know this looks really, really bad. I'm not finished with it yet, but picture this whole area here completely mulched. That's going to look pretty awesome. I almost forgot one last thing I wanted to show you. You may have seen it in the background. But I have this area next to the polytunnel kind of mapped out. Nothing's in it yet, but I've got some weed suppressant fabric down. And I purchased a slew of blackberries. So this is going to be a blackberry bed. Oh, listen to me. I was like, I'm not going to put anything in new this year. Am I delusional? I mean, come on. It's spring and I want everything to look like a garden center. So this is going to be a blackberry bed. And I purchased some blackberry plants, thornless variety. I can't remember the name of it at the moment. And then I'm going to have a little space here for some other heritage blackberries. My sister moved into a house that originally had a blackberry grove, and they're very, very old heritage variety that is delicious and historic. And she is going to let me come and take some. So I think this half is going to be the plants that I purchased, and then over here I'm going to be digging up some of hers. So that's going to be nice. I'm going to have berries. I'm going to have apples. It's going to be lovely. That ramp that I had originally in the front, I moved to the back. So I'll be able to get a wheelbarrow in and out. We are officially underway now. That's really exciting. I mean, just to think all the way back to one picture on Jane's Instagram or Facebook with the melon seedling has birthed this whole new experience. Hashtag Transatlantic Melon Challenge. It's getting easier to say it. I mean, I've said it about 15 times in this video alone. So if you are new to this channel, welcome. I hope you enjoyed what you saw. Please consider subscribing. I will be putting all of the information to my Facebook and my Instagram in the description box below. Along with that, I will be adding all of Jane's information as well. You can go back into a couple of my videos back. You can see how our first meeting together over Zoom, we talk about the challenge and everything. Check that out. So I will include all of Jane's stuff below as well, her Facebook, her Instagram, and her YouTube page. And consider subscribing to her as well. She's wonderful. I mean, her channel is excellent. She has a lot of wonderful content. Her plot is gorgeous, gorgeous. I think you guys would benefit as gardeners a lot to see what she has to offer. And beyond that, she's an absolute hoot and a darling. So you will enjoy her a great deal, as I do. Next video is going to definitely be that upcycle obelisk. I say no more. So stay tuned for that. Hope you guys are well, enjoying all the spring weather. I'll be back really, really soon. And I hope you all are really, really well. So long.